Have you ever felt so different that you had to hide parts of yourself just to be accepted? Have you ever believed in something so deeply, yet no one seemed to understand, and at times, even you wanted to give up? If you've ever felt that way, maybe you're an Aquarius, or perhaps you carry their kind of energy. The kind that doesn't try to fit into the world, but instead exists to expand it in its own way. The strongest person isn't the one who can dominate or control others, but the one who dares to go against the tide, who chooses a path no one has walked, and stays true to it. There are types of strength that can't be measured by power or fame, but by inner resilience, by a visionary mind, and the courage to live outside the mold. And if there's one zodiac sign that embodies these qualities in full, it's Aquarius. Those who are born to break boundaries, to imagine new realities, and to create a world that thinks differently, lives differently, and loves differently. In Greek mythology, Aquarius is linked to Ganymede, a young man gifted with both extraordinary beauty and intelligence, chosen by Zeus himself to ascend to Olympus. But what made Ganymede a symbol wasn't divine favor, it was his essence, free, untamed, and always drawn towards something higher, something beyond the earthly limits. And in our modern world, those who carry Aquarius energy are no different. They don't need to shout to be heard, and they don't need to prove themselves to feel seen. Their uniqueness lies in how they think, how they move, and how they live. Aquarius isn't a roaring fire like Leo or a fiery burst like Aries, but they are the wind, powerful and invisible, capable of shifting an entire sky. And if you've ever wondered what truly makes an Aquarius powerful, what sets them apart, not in an odd way, but in a way that makes others question their own view of the world, then let's go deeper into 6 core traits that cannot be copied, cannot be taught, but are always present in a soul tuned to the Aquarius frequency. The first reason lies in their vision beyond time, a way of seeing the world that breaks free from limitations. There are people who are not born to follow an existing path, but to create an entirely new one. Aquarius is exactly that kind of person. They ask questions where others accept answers, and they always view the world through a lens far wider than what the eye can see. To them, truth doesn't lie in safety. It lies in the things no one has dared to think about. They don't learn to memorize, and they don't think to follow up. They learn to understand, to break apart, and to rebuild. Their way of thinking is a rare combination of sharp logic, keen intuition, and limitless imagination. It's no coincidence that many of the greatest minds in human history carry the mark of Aquarius. Albert Einstein, though born under the sign of Pisces, embodied the energy of Aquarius in profound ways. With his disruptive thinking, ability to see what no one else had imagined, and a spirit that challenged the very foundations of knowledge, he is seen by many astrologers as a true expression of Uranian archetype. Uranus being the ruling planet of Aquarius, symbolizing innovation and the breaking of limits. Once dismissed by his teachers as lacking logical ability and unfit for academic environments, Einstein quietly proved them all wrong. He not only transformed modern physics through the theory of relativity, but opened up an entirely new dimension of thought, where imagination stood equal to knowledge. He never needed others to understand him right away. He just needed time for what he saw too soon to become what the world would eventually have to acknowledge. Under the influence of Uranus, the planet of breakthroughs and revolution, Aquarius carries the energy of those ahead of their time. They can see pieces of the future that others miss while still struggling with the present. They don't just ask, what is? They ask, why? Where does it lead? And what if it could be different? That's why Aquarius often leads in fields of innovation, from science and technology to art, philosophy, and movements that reshape society. They never stop learning, not to be better than others, but to unlock what no one else has dared to uncover. For Aquarius, a bold idea isn't meant to shock. It's meant to open the way. They don't look for a different path. They are the different path. And that is the very first reason. When someone can see beyond their own era, asking questions where others stop, it's no surprise that they struggle to live like everyone else. For Aquarius, intellect cannot coexist with restriction. Once their thinking has broken free, the way they live must expand with it. They don't just think differently, they need to live differently. The second reason is their relationship with freedom. It's the air they breathe, and independence is their instinct. There are people who feel at peace when they are guided, when someone else walks beside them and charts the course of their life. But Aquarius is different. They are born to take charge of their own path. Even while living among others, even while loving deeply, they still guard a private inner world that no one else is allowed to enter. They don't need external approval to believe in their own worth, and they aren't looking for a fixed role in the machinery of society. They create a place for themselves on their own terms. Aquarius is independent in a quiet way. They don't rebel, they don't argue, but they stand firm in their choices even when no one understands. They breathe freedom like air, and they suffocate if forced to live by someone else's expectations. While the rest of the world seeks safety, they choose to be themselves, even if that means walking alone. Their strength lies in this: they are not afraid of solitude, because they know real worth never comes from clinging. Oprah Winfrey is a vivid example of that spirit. A true Aquarius, she was once fired from her first television job for being too emotional, not suitable for broadcast. But she didn't shrink or conform. She stayed true to her essence, a woman who listens, who feels, who reaches into the places others try to hide. And it was precisely that emotional depth that later became the key to Oprah's power to connect with millions of people around the world through healing, soul-telling television. She didn't need someone to pave the way. She didn't wait for permission. She shaped her own path, with her own feet, her own heart, her own intuition. That is the Aquarian way, refusing to let circumstances define who they are, refusing to let the past dictate their future, and refusing to let anyone else write their story. They don't live to please the world. They live to stay true to themselves. And that was the second reason. When someone has the courage to live true to themselves, without needing to be understood, without needing to be accepted, then the love they give is never about the ego. Aquarius doesn't live only for themselves. They are free, but not selfish, independent, but never indifferent. The third reason shows in their compassion, a quiet kind of strength that speaks louder than words. Some people choose to be kind in loud, visible ways, but there are others who choose to do good in silence, without needing recognition, only needing to stay true to their own heart. The strength of Aquarius doesn't come from loud voices, nor from grand declarations of morality. It comes from the way they treat the world, with a gentle gaze and a heart that never grows numb to indifference. They may not hold you when you cry, and they might not be good with comforting words, but they'll quietly sit beside you, without asking, without insisting, just being there, in a way that lets you know you're not alone. Aquarius doesn't live to prove they are kind. They live as if there were no other way to be. To them, compassion is not some lofty ideal, it is a basic part of being a conscious human being. They don't try to save the world like heroes, they just notice, they feel, they act, especially when no one else is paying attention. A glance, a small gesture, a quiet stance in the face of injustice. These are the things they do, not for anyone's approval, but because they believe if there's even the slightest chance to make life a little better for someone, then that alone is reason enough. It's no coincidence that Abraham Lincoln, the president who reshaped an entire nation and fought to abolish slavery, was an Aquarius. He didn't act for fame, nor for a place in the history books. He acted because he believed that no one is born to live beneath the heel of another. That kind of thinking doesn't come from books. It comes from a deeply human spirit, from someone who carries the Aquarian essence at their core. But Aquarius doesn't need to be a president to create change. They might be the person who speaks up in class when someone else is being bullied, the one who takes the blame to protect someone more vulnerable, the one who sends a message at the right moment just to ask, "Are you okay?" even if no one has mentioned your name all week. To them, compassion isn't a rare event. It's a way of life, a way of showing up in other people's lives, quietly, but always on time. Aquarius doesn't need applause to live kindly. They don't need the spotlight to do what's right. They don't come to be heroes, they simply show up when it matters most, and then, quietly, walk away. Some people are strong through words, some are strong through action, but then there are those whose greatest strength lies in quiet perseverance over time. Aquarius is one of those people. They don't need to be applauded right away, they just need to go all the way with what they believe in. And that was the third reason. When someone chooses to be kind without needing to be seen, chooses to show up without asking for acknowledgement, then the strength within them is not just compassion, it's a quiet kind of power. Aquarius doesn't need to say much. They act, then step back. They believe, and keep going. They live in a way that only the attentive will notice. They are patient with others, with life, and with their own journey. The fourth reason is their patience, a strength that never asks to be proven, only lived through time. The world moves fast. People want everything right away. Quick success, instant results, immediate praise. But Aquarius is different. They're not in a race with anyone. They move to their own rhythm, and if something is truly worth it, they'll stay with it for far longer than anyone expects. Aquarius' patience doesn't come from passivity, it comes from vision. They understand that the things which truly matter take time to take shape, to bloom. And if it's not the right time yet, they're willing to pause, to observe, to learn, to refine, not to delay, but to prepare for a more certain leap forward. They don't give up because something is hard. They move forward only when they're grounded enough not to fall back. Aquarius can quietly build a dream for years, even when no one believes, no one understands, and no one walks with them. They are the kind who spend their youth developing an idea everyone calls crazy, who devote years to convincing the world of something no one else can see. And to them, if the world isn't ready yet, they'll wait. But while waiting, they're still moving, step by step, day by day. That same patience is also present in how they treat people. They don't rush to judge, and they don't easily give up on someone just because they aren't there yet. They'll stand by you through many different versions of yourself, not to enable you, but to give you time to understand yourself. They are not chasing quick fixes, they're holding space for real transformation. And that's why when Aquarius succeeds, it never looks like a surprise. It's the result of years of quiet perseverance. They don't need to arrive first, they just need to arrive at the right moment. At the moment when they've grown strong enough and the world has grown open enough to receive them. When someone has the patience to listen, to wait, to not rush, then their words, when finally spoken, carry weight. Aquarius doesn't speak often, but when they do, people stop and listen. Not because they're trying to be special, but because they speak from a place most people never reach. The quiet depths of their own being. The fifth reason is found in the way Aquarius uses words as a bridge between intellect and heart, connecting thought to feeling with quiet power. In the world of Aquarius, words are not just tools for communication. They are a way to connect. They don't speak to persuade and they don't argue to win. They speak to awaken, to stir, to make others reflect, sometimes with nothing more than a single sentence delivered at just the right moment. They have the ability to see the essence of an issue and from there choose the words that are just enough, not too much, not too little. That's why they're rarely caught up in shallow conversations. They don't enjoy talking about other people. They'd rather talk about ideas, about the future, about the things that could transform a life if only we dared to think differently. Aquarius speaks a language where reason and intuition intersect. They understand logic, but they also understand emotion. They can dissect a problem with precision, then close with a sentence that brings someone to tears, even if no one expected them to be that soft. Because of this, they often inspire others through their words, whether intentionally or not. They don't need a microphone to lead. They don't need to be on a stage to influence. They only need to speak once. And if someone is ready to listen, they will never forget what they just heard, not because it was eloquent, but because it was real, so real it touched something deep inside. And perhaps the greatest strength of an Aquarius lies in this: they don't use words to manipulate, they use them to awaken. When someone can use words to reach others, not to control, but to stir something within, then we know they're not just intelligent, but also kind. And behind that kindness is often a heart with no walls. Aquarius doesn't box the world into right and wrong, black and white. They see everything as a flow in motion, and they choose to open their heart rather than judge. The sixth reason lies in their openness and tolerance, a heart without borders that embraces difference without fear. Aquarius doesn't show up to make the world become like them. They show up to remind us the world only becomes truly vast when each person is free to be themselves. They don't demand others change to match them. They simply want others not to be forced into molds. And to them, difference isn't something to fear. It's what makes a civilization beautiful. They can be friends with someone entirely unlike them. They can sit for hours listening to someone with opposing views and still hold space for respect. They don't need agreement in order to love, and they don't need to win every argument to feel worthy. To Aquarius, openness isn't a tactic, it's who they are. Their heart has no borders. They believe every human being is a journey of their own, a story of their own, a pain of their own, and because of that, no one should be judged too quickly. They choose to understand before they judge, choose to listen before they draw conclusions. And that's what helps them keep relationships others wouldn't even know how to begin. Aquarius is not easygoing in a careless way. They have principles, but they don't let those principles become walls. They might disagree with you and still sit beside you in silence, just to say, "I'm still here, and I respect you even though we're not the same." Maybe that's the deepest kind of tolerance, the kind that needs no words, but everyone can feel. Aquarius doesn't seek control, they seek resonance. They don't come to win, they come to understand and, if possible, to grow together. Aquarius isn't the kind of zodiac sign that draws attention right away, but they are the kind of person, once you've touched the deeper layers within them, you'll never forget. They may be quiet, but they're never indifferent. They may walk alone, but they're never lost. They live at their own pace, slow, thoughtful, unhurried, and strong enough not to be swept up by the crowd. They don't need to be like anyone else to feel worthy. They don't need approval to know what's right, and they don't need to be called special to live a life that's truly different. If you are an Aquarius, or if you've ever seen yourself in what was just shared, then maybe you're not alone. Maybe you're just a step ahead. And this world, even if it's not ready yet, will eventually need people like you, people who dare to think differently, live differently, love differently. People who don't wait for miracles because they are already part of one. If this video touched something inside you, leave the word Aquarius in the comments so we know there are others out there on the same frequency. And if you think someone else might need to hear this, don't hesitate to share it. Because sometimes, just a soft voice at the right time can warm someone's entire day. Thank you for being here. See you again on another journey for those who refuse to live on repeat.